Nigerian sprinter Blessing Okagbare meets her lawyers as they study and decide the next line of action after Athletic Integrity Union disciplinary panel issued her a 10-year ban for doping. Okagbare says her first Instagram page that she will inform the public very soon.
Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike lambasts his Cross River counterpart Ben Ayade and the police for attempting to prevent People's Democratic Party from holding its rally for the Ogoja Yala Federal Constituency and the Akpabuyo State Constituency by-elections in Calabar this Saturday.
And as always, we'll be looking at the national dailies this beautiful Monday morning.
A very good morning to you. It's the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. We're back for another week of interesting conversations right here. And my name is Kofi Bartels.
And I am Messi. But it's good to be back on your screen this Monday morning.
Yes, Messi looking flawless as always. I don't know what the secret is.
No secret.
I cannot fail to notice the new hair. The new hair is...
oh, come on.
Yes,
but thank
indeed.
you so much.
Yes,
I mean,
indeed.
for a change.
For all those listening, you have to pass through me. You have to pass through me to get to her. All right. Anyway, it was quite an interesting weekend. The politicians were politicking. You know, those who were catching crews, like a young people will say, we're catching crews. And we'll start things off with a look at the trending stories around the country. One particular one that got a lot of people upset, really upset, happens to be the story of a 14-year-old young Nigerian girl who was allegedly extorted by airport officials. It's a story that for those who travel through the airports, you may not be unfamiliar with it, Mercy. But this is a 14-year-old girl. Well, her mom has been she's refused to keep quiet. A chef, Imoteda, that's just a name we got, has accused the officials of the airport, Lagos Airport, as a Murtala Mohammed International Airport, of attempting or actually extorting her daughter some amount of money, a 14-year-old daughter who was traveling to Canada. But this lady went on to Twitter to, reveal this allegation, let's call it that. And she's a Canadian or Canada-based Nigerian, alleging that Nigerian immigration officials took all the money. And this is really worrying if it's true. She took all the money from her teenage daughter, someone traveling from Nigeria to Canada to go meet her mother, 14 years old. And the mom says that the immigration officials at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, Nigeria, took all the money on her daughter. This is a minor, 14 years old. Well, this is what she said on Twitter. Let's just quote her. My 14-year-old daughter is traveling by herself, and she put 14 in caps lock. Immigration took all her money before they let her go. They took money from a 14-year-old girl, didn't even leave her with 1 kobo, she says, or 1,000 naira so she can buy food while she waits. How wicked. Found officials, he puts that in a hashtag. I'm so angry. A child, she says. Why are you stealing money from a child? And you took all of it and didn't let her call her mother. This is really sad. It's what the mom said. Of course, we would need to get some response from the airport authorities. If that is out already, we'll get it to you. But Mercy, this is a really sad one. For those who, like I said earlier, travel through the international airport in Lagos here to go outside the country, they may not be unfamiliar with such experiences.
No, so this is what it is. I mean, a lot of people are quite shocked, and some persons actually are still in doubt of that situation, because usually the airlines should take responsibility for minors. They accompany them through the entire process. So it's really, really heartbreaking. I mean, you also know that you have to establish all of the facts. But not to say that there's no possibility that this probably would have happened. Because, like some people will say, this is Nigeria.
Well, I think
Anything can happen.
it was Fowles who sang that song.
Now, you know, when I say this is Nigeria, a lot of
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, this is Nigeria. Anything can happen." Because I'm not sure if you saw that video of a foreigner. Apparently, skin was actually white. He came into Nigeria and he was
Waving the
lamenting
flag?
bitterly. No, wasn't waving the
Oh,
flag.
okay, the
Some time ago.
documentary guy. Yeah, okay.
He was
yeah,
talking badly about, you know, all of the experiences, how he has to pay at every checkpoint, and now he has to get extorted and all of that.
You know?
So originally we talked about that on this platform. I remember how I felt. I felt very pained because I felt like, I mean, you can come and talk about my country like that. That's me being very patriotic. But to be very honest, these things do happen. But like I mentioned, I'm hoping that an investigation would actually put out to all of this, because that's a minor. And we should be out there looking out for these minors and children, because up until the age of 18, they're still kids. And we should be looking out for them. And the airlines usually airlines actually take care of these minors. They accompany them on through the entire process. So I'm really saddened, and it's really sad to hear that. But you also need to establish, you know, the fact of truth. And if you look at previous experience over time, you might just want to agree because of one or two experiences that have happened with our airports. And so there's also an element, I mean, likely an element of truth with all of that, because this is Nigeria, and we know how things have been done over time. And you can take that.
There's a lot that the mother of this 14-year-old girl.
I feel pained on her behalf.
Yes. It's I mean, for a mother to go. I mean, how is she supposed to make her way home from the airport in Canada?
I feel so sorry.
How is she supposed to take care of herself, you know, through the other airport? There's a transit, for instance, where she needs to buy food at some duty-free store. How is she going to survive? It is this and halfway around the world, talking about North America, you know. But the mom didn't just say these things. she went on to lay curses on the airport officials, and you know, for a lot of people, the reaction would be, well, this is what we've been facing. Thank God someone has gone through it to put it out, you know, on social media, such that it gets such attention. But this is what we face every day. I mean, some people have called up some police officers actually criminals, armed robbers, because people are extorted on the road every day. The only reason that a policeman or a corrupt, let me not say, because some of them are not corrupt, a corrupt police officer will extort money from you or still take money from you is because he has a gun and he has a uniform. So that's robbery. It's daylight robbery. So when someone robs from you with a gun, what is that, Mercy? When someone robs you with a gun, what's that?
Robbery?
No, with a gun.
Armed robbery.
Armed robbery. So some of our police officers, you know, are engaging in armed robbery. Really, that's what it is. It's armed robbery. Because you hold a gun, you have a uniform, and say, give me money. And someone has to give them money out of fear. Out of fear. So that's so what is the difference between you and the armed robber? You know, I keep going back to the code of conduct for public officers enshrined in black and white in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. This code of conduct is there. I know other agencies come up with their personal or individual codes of conduct, but this one is there. And like we mentioned, if the Code of Conduct Bureau was on it, and a lot of federal agents. So the point I'm making, just in a nutshell, is that
we're just a mistake. We are governed in parts, and then what do you expect?
So it's the people.
So it's the people. We have always been the problem. You can't blame this on President Muhammadu Buhari. You can't blame this on the governor of a particular state. For instance, Lagos State. It's not on, the Lagos State government. So we all have a share in all of this. The fact that we have decided to be corrupt people. If that report is anything to go by, which I would think that a mother of a 14 would not definitely want to just become a superstar on Twitter or any other platform just because she wants to become a superstar. But it probably would have actually been something that's very hurtful for her to put out. But however, we're hoping that the relevant authorities would investigate this, and those behind all of this will be brought to book. Quite unfortunate, because we believe that the airlines are supposed to protect these minors from start to finish.
Let's leave the airlines out. This is
so it's a general conversation.
And
also, I'm just saying.
Also, we talk about the people, Mercy, yeah? The people. But the thing is this, government is even enabling these things. I mean, you have government. Government is meant to make sure society works.
True,
the people are the victims, really. People are the victims. That girl is part of the people. The mother is part of the people. See, when President Muhammadu Buhari came into power, I personally, I'm not saying this because people say this, personally, the guys on the streets of Port Harcourt, the points I knew where the activities, and the points where I know police in River State have turned into an ATM point where they mint money from the people, all right? They were not collecting money. It was all...
So what changed?
Yes, sir. Because people were not sure. All the corrupt people in government were afraid. They thought that Buhari would come and clean the system. He came and ran on a campaign of zero tolerance for corruption. But after 1 week, they just saw it was business as usual, that this president was not who they thought he would be. So and it is sad because Nigerians know that Buhari from the 80s ran what you call kick out or war against indiscipline, rather. All right, war against indiscipline with the Diagmo. I had an opportunity, Mercy, just a quick one, because this message has to go to him. I had an opportunity to travel out of the country in that period. Mercy, I can tell you that when I came back, the usual guys who would stop me in the airport, the immigration guys and all those guys wearing their ID cards who have nothing to do there, were on their best behavior. I know someone sang that song, on their best behavior. But of course, after a week or so, they realized that it was business as usual, and it's become worse. Right now, it's worse than it was under the PDP. It's worse. So the president has disappointed.
I'm sorry, but I totally understand the points where you're coming from, and the fact that, yes, you have a president who's controlling the country. But, you know, to some extent, we're governed in, like I said, in bits and pieces. And so you have a federal system. Whether or not the federal system is functional is another conversation for another day. But however, you have state government, you have local government, and then you have the federal government. That first week. And it's on the premise that the president came. That's the reason. But see, this is what I'm saying. We have succeeded. But would you, but let's be very realistic. As much as we want to blame the president for everything, we can't blame the president for everything. So we have governors who are in charge of states. We have, you know, apparatus. We have things that were within. So we have an agency where you have government who's supposed to be. Look
at last time customs and
I thought you were
FAN were fighting. They were fighting each other over who has access to. See. It's been a as far as corruption in this country is concerned. The hopes that Nigerians had for Buhari, and even these guys who were locking up, Mercy, it's a total fiasco. It's worse now. It's free for all. Can't you see the headlines in the papers?
And I'm just saying that, you know, as much as we want to blame the president for all of this, it's a collective contribution. We have succeeded in building structures that are not very strong, and so you seem to have weak structures.
In the 1980s, when you had war against,
that's what it is. Because today,
people will do what they want to do.
Can I please?
Yeah, okay. So I'm sorry. Gendarmes will do an igbo on them. So why is it that when people leave this country, including our politicians, they queue?
Do you want me to answer that?
They queue. They do everything. Yet, tell me why.
So the reason is that we have a system that is working.
Where?
No, wait. Why? It's because we have weak institutions and we have strong men. And that's it. And that's why somebody will go to a queue of a bag.
Who's going to strengthen the institutions?
No, but we have to.
Who is going to strengthen the institutions?
Collectively, it has to be us.
Is it you?
So, for instance,
if we have to move on.
I mean, we have to move on. But I'm just saying, for instance, if I am calling the affairs, I mean, you walk up to a counter. Should you jump? It doesn't matter who you are. You should follow the queue. That's what we're saying.
It's okay.
You don't need the president to tell you that.
We're here. We're moving together. So if you say we are the ones to change it, I agree. But people will not change. So what happens? They vote people into power who they think can make things better. You understand? And when these people get into power, if things don't get better, then it's on them. But anyway, in South Africa, it's been going down. Anytime we hear stories coming from South Africa, we always hold them be afraid because of the history of mob violence and xenophobic attacks on people from other parts of the continent of Africa, including Nigeria. Well, this one is coming from the Nigerian Union in South Africa. This is a union of Nigerians who live in that country, announcing the death of another Nigerian in that country. This is really unfortunate, following a vicious attack on him in his shop. Pictures you've seen are pictures of previous xenophobic attacks. The Nigerian Union in South Africa president, Collins Ngbo, announced the death of Mr. Nicholas John in a statement issued from South Africa on Thursday. The deceased is said to be an indigene of Ogun State and was attacked by a mob in his shop in Kimberley. Kimberley is in South Africa's Northern Cape, and we're told this attack came on February 12th. So this is really sad. If you go back in history, records show at least 128 Nigerians have been killed in South Africa since 2019, Mercy. And on the 12th of December, as recently as that, Olushola Solari was killed by hoodlums who attacked him and collected his money. Unfortunately, it's really sad, but this man, who 15, he disclosed that on February 11, the Nigerian was attacked by a South African gang for allegedly buying a stolen laptop. So this is what the NUSA president is saying is the reason for this attack. He was beaten alongside his friends who they believe were accomplices in buying that stolen laptop, while the South African criminal who stole the laptop and sold it to John was left unharmed. This is really sad, and it's another, evidence of man's inhumanity to man. Really sad one.
Well, you've actually said that, and it's a serious issue. As much as we constantly talk about the issue of police brutality, which is also a global issue, and then you find out that, man's inhumanity, this has been ongoing for a very long time. Unfortunately, you want to begin to look at the efforts of the Nigerian government in ensuring that this doesn't happen. Is there anything that can be done within the space? But it gets us back to talking about the issue of strengthening our institution, even in Africa. And so even in South Africa, you have all of these killings going on, where there's a mob attack on a particular person, killing is killing, mother is mother. So the laws should actually not be discriminatory. These persons behind all of this should be brought to book. And so it goes on. It's more like it's becoming a very global issue, the issue of humanity, the issue of respect of human rights and tolerance and all of that. So we constantly, I think we need to, be strong and great on preaching all of this message of respecting human rights, being tolerant and all of that, and the laws, because I'm sure that in South Africa you have laws governing all of this. There's a government, there's a system, and so the system should not be discriminated. The system should be very effective in order to ensure that those who are committing all of this crime, if the government is not in support and behind all of this, then this person should be arrested. They should be perpetuated. I mean, they should be made to face the wrath of the law, whether or not you're from Nigeria, you're from Afghanistan, wherever it is that you're from. If you kill someone, I'm sure that the law should be brought out to you. There's penalties, there are issues that can be taken care of. So yes, that's on the one side. We need the South African government to be on top of her game, strengthen her institution. As Mosrich was saying, we also need to strengthen ours. But you come back to Nigeria, what can the government do to protect her citizens outside of Nigeria when you have her citizens in Nigeria? Oh no.
I know you guys are not going to allow Abike Dabiri rest. It's going to be settled. Abike Dabiri is not the Minister of Foreign Affairs, even though people sometimes it comes like that. But she usually gets the public attention when anything happens to her. She's not a Minister of Foreign Affairs, but she put herself in this position to be sort of responsible for whatever happens to Nigerians abroad. Mercy, if we must be honest, South Africa has its own internal security challenges. And sometimes you hear these things, you would wonder, okay, is this just one of those things that happen in South Africa? I mean, their own celebrities are being killed by the criminals in that country. You can go back to the story of Lucky Dube and how he was killed. I mean, on Thursday, a prominent Nigerian former footballer, celebrity, Pastor Eda Peterside, who is a former Nigerian goalkeeper and a personal friend, had to put up a testimony on Facebook that an attempted car theft, his car. Unfortunately for the robbers of his car, there were two of his daughters in the vehicle, and they sort of chased the thief away. But it's clear from the reports that there was a South African involved, the person who stole the laptop. He wasn't harmed or killed. Not that we want to see anyone being killed, but if that preference was given, then it means that, of course, the nationality of the deceased may have been taken into account in deciding how far to go. So hopefully we get some action from the Nigerian government and South African government as well to get to the bottom of this. There's another one. Let's go to Osun State, and of course it's been going down. We've given quite a number of minutes or hours of conversation on the breakfast to the APC governorship primaries basically in that state that held on Saturday. No love lost between Rauf Aregbesola, former governor, and his successor and his former chief of staff, Boyega Oyetola. I mean, Aregbe Shola was trending on Twitter on Saturday. I'm trying to remember the name that they gave him. It's Baba something. I can't remember what they gave him. But Oyetola flawed Adeoti, who is perceived to be the preferred candidate of Aregbe Shola, and he did a lot to campaign against Oyetola. You know, so this is the result. Let's see what happens at the end of the day, if there'll be any defections or whatever. But that's so much you can take on the trending segment right here on The Breakfast.
Well, we'll step on the breaks now. When we return, it will be time for us to look at the pages of our national dailies. We call it Off the Press, and we'll definitely have a guest join the conversation. Please stay tuned.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. Relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
From whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power, and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Sundays, 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Welcome back to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Let's go through the pages of our national dailies. We call it Off the Press, and we have Opuna Bonkotaria who joins the conversation. It's good to have you join us this beautiful Monday morning, Opuna Bonkotaria.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Messi. Good morning, Kopi. And good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning. Okay, so we'll start off with the Nigerian Tribune, and as always, the top stories and the caption would be the focus. 6 days to APC convention, uncertainty over delegate list. Consensus unity list won't be acceptable to Buhari, Mustafa is quoted. Concerned aspirant asks party leadership to postpone convention. And where does that leave the party, the ruling party, ahead of the 2023 elections? You also have another caption saying Queen Elizabeth tests positive for COVID-19. That's been making the rounds. And just before then, you also have Nigeria content retains $8 billion annually and creates 50,000 jobs. Thousands of imported vehicles trapped at seaport over VIN valuation. That's what you find. And just before we move away from the Tribune, you also have medical professionals giving divergent views on COVID-19 vaccine production. NAFDAC impounds 120 tons of chemical-laden heat skin. That's also another one. And Oshun APC primaries, Oyetola garners 222,169 votes. Aregbeshola's man had 12,921 votes. And trouble in air transport as Nigerian Airways increases the fares. You also have fare increase in other. That's what the NCAA is quoted to say. Air travelers weigh road transport option as airlines attribute fare increase to hostile environment. 1 hour flight now sells for 50,000 naira to 100,000. Liter of Jet A1 now jumps from 190 naira to 400 naira or 500. And this has been put out the reason for, having that fares being increased. 2023, no amount of intimidation can stop me. You have the former governor of Lagos State, Bola Ahmed, quoted on that as he visited the Alafin and Olubadan designate. That's the much we can take on the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
Let's go straight to the leadership newspaper with these front page headlines. The big one there, 5 days to go. PMB, APC governors take crucial decision on convention tomorrow. Aspirants, stakeholders kick against governor's anointed chairmanship candidate. Insist on open contest. Lament uncertainty of February 26 convention date. 2023, I'm ready to get dirty with anyone, Tinubu warns. 2023, I'm ready to get dirty with anyone, Tinubu warns. I wonder what interpretation you would give to that. Humanitarian crisis looms in Niger over upsurge in IDPs. Humanitarian crisis looms in Niger over upsurge in IDPs. Ohaneze condemns Abia cattle market killings. Interesting one there. Ohaneze condemns Abia cattle market killings. Details on page 6. Several vehicles trapped at Lagos ports over VIN policy. This is the vehicle identification number valuation policy introduced on all imported vehicles by the Nigeria Customs Service. Any hope in sight for the importers of such vehicles? Time will tell. Kano APC, Ganduje pacifies Shekarau supporters. It'd be interesting to know what or how he's pacified them or what he used in pacifying them. But let's not go into details. Top ISWAP commander, 21 others killed in airstrikes. Top ISWAP commander, 21 others killed in airstrikes. You can see a picture of the chief of air staff there on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. Those other stories coming from that newspaper.
All right, we move away from the Leadership newspaper this morning. Let's check out the Punch newspaper. Looking at the front page of the Punch newspaper, you have convention, APC battles consensus crisis as Buhari governors meet Tuesday. State chapters confirm readiness, awaits Boni's signal, and chairmanship aspirant laments planned postponement. That's a lot going on in the APC right now, and I wonder where that leaves them as the ruling party. Nigeria lost 2,038 lives to air crashes in 53 years, says the AIB. And you also have, we won't leave APC, Aregbesol's group vows as Oyetola defects. And another header says, anti-Aregbesola protests in Lagos, demonstrators berate the minister. And private depots hike rate, more fueling stations may sell above 180 naira per litre. That's also another one right there. And talking about strike, ASU, NEC converge on Abuja today to meet the federal government. Well, that's it on the Punch.
Interesting, Mercy. The pictures on the front page of the Punch. It looks like I don't speak Yoruba, but it looks like is that rest in peace? Is that the meaning of what's on the back of that?
I saw all of that.
And you can see a picture of a coffin there.
With Aregbesol's
I'm
face.
telling with his name and everything, maybe saying that his political future has been buried. Well, time will tell. Interesting stories are coming on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, and they've taken a different slant or different twist, a departure from what the other papers are looking at, and I think that's commendable. 8 months after abduction, 13 Yauri schoolgirls married off to bandits. This is something that some people may have forgotten about, and they have an infographic timeline of. Let's quickly move on. Tons of pomo that can cause deadly diseases imported to Nigeria. NAFDAC, did you ever know that pomo is imported? Never knew that. Hard times for passengers as airlines raise fares by 100%. Nigerian airstrike targeting terrorists kill children in Niger Republic. Those are some stories coming from the Nigerian or Daily Trust. APC to postpone convention over unresolved crisis. Pregnant woman, 8 others burned to death in Kwara road crash. Queen Elizabeth tests positive for COVID-19 and 8 killed, 14 abducted as bandits attack Niger communities. We'd like to invite at this point and welcome our guest analyst, Oponaboy Kotaria. Mr. Kotaria, thank you very much for your time and for your patience as well. Let's start with the big story on the front page of the Daily Trust news about the abduction of students, 80 students and 5 teachers from the Federal Government College in Benin Yauri. It's almost a year now. This is June 17, 2021, and now we're hearing that 13 of those girls have been married off to bandits. Your thoughts on that?
What do you expect me to say? 13 of the girls have been married off to bandits. It's expected and in sync with Islamic religion. You all agree with me that in Islam, you even get married at 13, 12, 13, 10. And these bandits are Muslims, so they see nothing wrong with that. But it is a clear manifestation of the government's failure to protect lives and property, especially the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, who opted to protect lives and property and has abdicated, refused to protect lives and property. He has shirked that responsibility. It is unfortunate that these girls who are in school, unlike most Muslims, most Northerners, especially the ladies who don't see anything important about education. These ones have realized the importance of education and have decided to go to school. Sadly, it has become their own doing, the albatross. And the government is doing nothing other than mounting piles of relevancies and sanctimonious triviality. The government has done nothing to ensure the release of these adoptees. In fact, they are pregnant. What will they do? Not as if they have agreed to be pregnant, not as if they willingly opened their legs for these criminals, but they were probably raped. Not even probably, I believe that they were raped. And the product of that rape, the result of that rape is pregnancy. What else do you want me to say? The summary is the federal government of President Muhammad Buhari has failed Nigeria security-wise, politically, economically, and even socially. This is one government, when weighed in the balance of history, shall be found one.
We've been told that 3 of these girls are pregnant, and the pregnant girls have been released to their parents. So what you've said is really the way it is in terms of the rape and sexual assault. Of course, if they are married off, it's not expected that they'll be there, they won't be touched. It's really sad and worrying, and I shudder when I think of
it is happening. Actually,
yes, yes, indeed. Let's look at the prospect of postponing the APC National Convention over unresolved crisis, as the Daily Trust newspaper put it. APC to postpone convention over unresolved crisis. Apart from the Daily Trust, you have the Punch's stake at the Punch newspaper saying convention. APC
the media is a wash.
Is a wash. Yeah, this is something that this is what we live for. We live on, or we live for such stories. APC battles consensus crisis as Buhari governors meet on Tuesday. What's your take on the role of the governors and some of the kickback against the governors' move to have their way?
Well, if you talk of my opinion on the issue of the governors, it's a normal thing. I mean, the governors will always want to force their opinions, their views, and their ways on Nigeria. The governors are very powerful in this part of the country. In fact, in most cases, they exceed their briefs, they exceed their powers, they go beyond their powers because the system allows them to do so. So, the government, and I strongly believe that Buhari is lethargic when it comes to what happens in the APC and after his presidency. Because the man is silent. He's not bothered at all. You can see him moving from one country to the other, even when those journeys are completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. You see him traveling. Like I said here on this program, was it last week or the week before? I said the man is trying to catch up. You know, when he was the military head of state, he didn't have the time to globetrot. So this is another opportunity, and realizing that this is the very last opportunity, he can globetrot using the federal government finances. That's exactly what he's doing, because most of these journeys are complete. You could send your lieutenant, but he wants to go. So he's not really interested in, I don't think he's interested in who succeeds him, but the governors are. Because most of them want to succeed the president. Those that are not interested in succeeding the president want to ensure that their how will I put it, those that they believe they trust, because in politics you actually trust no one. Those they believe they trust should be in position, in power, so that they can continue to enjoy the paraphernalia or the perks of power. That is what is going on right now. And so they want to ensure, some are talking of consensus candidates. Now, most of the governors are saying consensus candidates. The consensus candidates will be there in their own image. That's the whole essence of a consensus candidate. We'll be there to protect them. We'll be there to ensure that even when they are out of office, that their interests have been protected. That is why a lot believe in consensus candidates. Those that are averse to consensus candidates are saying no, because they know that the consensus candidate might not be the candidate that is generally acceptable. Therefore, the consensus candidate will definitely, how will I put it, protect the interest of a microscopic few. That's what they call. I told them, I say no. We don't want a consensus candidate. Let us get somebody that will be there in the image of everybody. And that is the problem. Even Bumi is part of the problem. This is a committee that was set up to last for 6 months. 6 months to 1 year, and 1 year, how many? Almost 2 years now. So Bumi is even part of the problem. He pretends to address the problem, while in actual fact, he is part of the problem. Because I don't see why it would be difficult for the Bumi-led committee to take a decision. The man has been vacillating. You know, he has a schizophrenic personality. But most importantly, trying to see how whatever his antics are, how he's going to benefit from it. If it's possible for him to emerge as the vice presidential candidate in the next general election, or if it's possible for him to even emerge as the presidential candidate. That is the problem with Bumi. Bumi's problem has nothing to do with addressing sincerely the issues of APC. Bumi's problem has to do with protecting and projecting his own interests. That is the bane of the party. Normally, even the devil has his own lieutenant. And that is the bane of the party. And now they are trying to see, don't forget, this is a party that melded into what? Different parties that melded into one. And so they don't have the same ideology, they don't have the same belief, they don't have the same paradigm of operation, models of operation, nothing. The major aim of coming together was to oust the Jonathan administration. And having achieved that, now you begin to see the fissures in the party, a lot of schism in the party, and how to reconcile the differences has become a problem. Because they all came with mindset. Let us get this man out. Now, Jonathan is out. PDP is out. The next battle was, how do we ingratiate ourselves with Mr. President? How is it possible? Because it has nothing to do with party. It is not an individual. How do we ensure that Mr. President, how do I, not we, how do I ensure that Mr. President will love me and hand over to me? So it has really has nothing to do with whether the APC is going to win the next election or not. It really has to do with whether the individual will win the next election or not. But you cannot, because there is no independent candidate, so you have to write on the back of the APC, and that is why you keep talking of APC. But the APC will long have been dead. Because right now it's an ego battle. It is not a party battle. But when they came together, it was a party battle. Now it's an ego battle. Now they realize that they came from ACS, they came from CPC, they came from this and that. So that is why you have this schism in the party.
Okay.
Because they are not fighting in the interest of the party. And the governors have the financial model. They have that financial model. And they are making good use of that financial model. You are using what you have to get what you want.
Let's see if the convention will hold. Yeah, let's see the convention will hold in the next 6 days. Of course, and when the PDP managed to hold his own convention, the new chairman Ayu threw a challenge to the APC to hold their own convention, predicting that they wouldn't be able to hold it. And that challenge is still they call it a bet. It's still open. It's still there. But another story coming on several of the papers, including the Nigerian Tribune, happens to be Osun APC primaries. Oyetola garners 222,169 votes. Arabeshala's man got a paltry 12,921 votes. That seems like a political whitewash. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I wasn't surprised with the outcome of that. That's a sitting governor. I'm not really seized of the facts, but from the snippets of information gathered, the sitting governor is performing. And although the performance of the governor is not the barometer in Nigerian politics, the yardstick in Nigerian politics is a governor, a generous man, and you know what it means, being generous. So is this spreading the in this country?
Okay, quickly.
The government in Nigeria will say, your father is an idiot, and you say, yes, sir. And you go back to Congo.
So let's also stay with the Nigerian Tribune. On this one, it talks about the trouble in air transport as Nigerian airlines increase the fares. And you have the NCC or NCAA saying that this fare increase is in order, and some people are saying, I mean, you have the fact that 1 hour flights now sells for like 50,000 naira to about 100,000 naira, and this has been blamed on a liter of the Jet A1, which has now jumped from 190. We're talking about the fuel, I mean the aviation fuel now, to 400 and 500 naira. What are your thoughts?
You're not going to blame, how would I call them, those that own planes. There's a word for them. You're actually not going to blame the industry because they are in there for business. That's the truth about it. They don't have planes and put them into commercial use because they love you or because they love Nigeria. They are in there for business. Even the Nigerian, the price of the fares will go. It is natural. There is nothing you can do about it. Because if, for example, a liter of the aviation fuel before now was 100 naira, and the fare before now was 20 naira, for example, they must have done the calculation that by the time we get the money from so number of persons, and by the time we spend whatever we're going to spend on entertainment and so on plane and pay our staff and so on, we are going to make a profit of 10 naira. Now the price of the aviation fuel has gone up. They cannot maintain that same price, flight ticket, the price. It's not possible. They will run at a loss. And if they run at a loss, they will stop. If they stop, we're also going to be affected. They're in there for business. So it's simple business thinking. I'm not going to blame them. Rather, you're going to blame the government. Because the government's failure to ensure the provision of the aviation fuel at a cheaper rate, which is extremely possible, with our refineries and so on, is the problem. That's nothing to do with the aviation industry. It has to do with the government. The government has failed in its economic policy, and it is already reflecting on every segment of the economy, including the aviation industry. That's what is going on. So you cannot blame, please extricate the owners, the industry from this blame, and let the government be the scapegoat. It's as simple as that. The government has failed, completely failed.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, Openawen Kutare, let's go over to our ASU segment. At least every program on the media these days will have something to talk about. ASU, we hear that the national...
Well, you just said it, if I expected you to come out of Nazareth. Well, you just said it. You stole the thunder by saying Nazareth.
Well,
I know you're just trying to be biblical. Yes. But having said that, you know, I impugn the sincerity of the actual officials. You know, last week, we discussed this. I said students might even protest. I think I was forecasting, and the students protested. We are not worried about ASU going on strike. But the truth is, the sincerity of ASU, especially the officials of ASU, like the president and so, you are going to meet. This is not the first time you're meeting with the government. It's not the second time you're going to meet with the government. It's not even the fourth time. You know, last week too, I said it. When they meet, their accounts get alerts. Or, Kofi, you're playing the devil's advocate. I agree with you. I understand. But why are you meeting with the government? What are you expecting to come out of that meeting different? Nothing. Because nothing new shall be said. The demands have remained the same. I didn't listen to that. He said the demands have remained the same. The government has always... Now I say, according when I hear you, I'm talking about you. Because I don't believe that the government is relenting completely. The ASU men are just collecting some money. What are you going to meet the ASU for? What are you going to meet the government for? Are you going to come up with that's why these people are not serious. When they are broke, they say with this country now they are broke. Because we thought that ASU meant it. We thought it was in the interest of the universities. But for one indication, it is not. It's a selfish drive. Why are you going to meet with the federal government? The minister said he was not even aware that ASU has gone on strike. And you have a minister like that. That was the man what is state on this country. He's not aware. Why would he be aware when you be drinking tea and maybe probably
what the Minister of Labour was saying. What the Minister of Labour was saying was that.
That man lost my respect completely.
No, Mr. Secretary, what?
Excuse me, he's not one man to be trusted. He's the Minister for Labour.
Yeah.
And he has been negotiating with us.
Yeah.
And nothing has come out of it.
No,
but
but
man should resign. If you reach an agreement with ASU, and even if Mr. President truncates it or frustrates that, you resign.
Mr. Secretary, in defense of
What is there into a meeting with ASU?
Mr. Secretary, in defense of Senator, sorry, Opunabo Kotaria, please. In defense of Senator Dr. Chris Ngige, and what he said was that based on the current framework of agreements with ASU, each time they want to embark on an industrial action, they want to go back to the trenches, as it were, or back on strike, they're meant to inform the negotiating the bodies, including the Interreligious Council, and inform the minister in writing that, since you could not, but they did not submit that letter to him.
Very soon you tell me there's no time. Very soon you tell me there's no time. Kofi, forget the sophistry. What is the reasonableness in that? We'll reach an agreement to fail to fulfill your own part. Then you now also tell me each time I want to go on strike or I want to react, I should also inform you, the enemy, that I want to. Is that not? You failed, but I should also inform you. But the ASU is also compliant. The ASU is doing so because they are enjoying. I don't trust the executives. I'm telling you the truth. There must be something. There is more to it than if they are. What meeting? What kind of body meeting are you going to have with them? It's simple. I am not going to meet with you until you prevail at least 60% of the agreement. 60%. We are talking of demand. It's different from agreement. Because from demand, you move to agreement. Agreement, we've reached consensus. There is consensus added. We've reached a consensus. Now it's time for implementation. Then you fail. And I should reform you again. The minister said that. So by the time they reform, they will now have this meeting that they are having, and will now see that the envelopes will go around. Then they say, okay, after the meeting, we have reached the consensus. They will do this, and don't worry, we are now postponing. We are suspending the time. Nonsense, absolutely wrong.
So you feel this is an exercise to just get some brown numbers. Time will tell.
And so they need money, and that's why they are talking of strike. The executives are broke. They are playing on the intelligence of other members. Other members should please kick these human beings out of office and elect fresh ones.
All right.
Let's quickly share your thoughts on Okunabo, but this is actually not on the pages this morning, but it's also, national discourse. The fact that you have about 26 civil society organizations coming to protest the rework of the electoral bill and giving the president, some days, to actually sign out into law. And where that actually leaves us, will this protest make any impact? Is the protest necessary? Let's quickly have you share your thoughts on this one. Well, we seem to have a poor connection or a lost connection with Opunabo Kotaria, who is a public affairs analyst, and he's been making sense of some of the top headlines this morning on our national dailies. However, we are also being concerned about the fact that you have the reworked electoral bill that hasn't been given assent by the president, and you have civil society organization. In their numbers, about 26 of them coming together, quite impressive. A lot of persons have asked the value of this civil society organization, how they have fared and what they have been doing, what have been up to. But the big question here is, what difference will he make? I mean, the protesting and asking that the president should give assent, will this force the hand of the president to assent to this bill? And where does this leave us as a country as regards, our electoral act and the reforms of our elections ahead of the 2023 elections? There's a lot that needs to be done, but I know that you're also one of those proponents, one of those persons who constantly question the activities of civil society. 26 of them would be out there. If not today or thereabouts.
I do.
I think so.
Because I think that's news. That's news. We should put it on the 9 a.m. news because I'm not aware I do. I mean, we are civil society. You are civil society. I'm civil society. You know, so for me to question, you know, so, I mean...
No, so you have this ones where, I mean, I think that you're trying to be politically correct very here, but it's okay, I understand the fact. But my point is you have a group of persons who have come together, they have a name, they have a face, they have an identity, and they have been...
I am part of civil society, Mercy. You are part of... If you're not part, I am part of civil society. Yes.
So the question now is, with the protest that's going to go out, I mean, they're going to be converging at the Unity Center in Abuja,
the Unity Fountain
in Abuja,
yeah.
yes.
Wow.
Demanding that the president give accent to that election. Do you think that this would actually yield any results?
Yeah, I don't know where the 2 days ultimatum started from, yesterday or today, you know, but usually the ultimatum should come with a threat, like if you don't, we will, you understand? So it should be like CSOs who say we would, or they'll do ABC. So what's the aftermath? Because if there's nothing after it, then it means that I mean the president may not feel the heat. But it's interesting. I mean, February 18 was meant to be the deadline as far as INEC is concerned, because they need 365 days, you know, of preparations, of announcements and all that. The calendar, the electoral calendar or timetable should run for about 365 days. And they had intended to have a proper general elections next year on February 18. Now, today it's gone past, February 18, 2000. The reworked election members. Now, don't forget, before that, bill was returned to the National Assembly, we had our governors from both parties, by the way, who were lobbying Mr. President. And Senate President Ahmed Lawan had to make his ceremonial visit to the Aso Rock Villa to meet with Mr. President as well. Maybe to try and, convince the president to sign based on the pressure that was being put on him by the governors. And he came out of the meeting to his ceremonial position where the press is always waiting for him to address them. So it's been a war of wits, let's call it that, war of wits between the governors and the National Assembly members. Of course, the governors probably would have been happy that some of the clauses that were inserted, including the fact that the governors could not determine, who would be the next the candidates. It had to be the direct primaries, format or option that was inserted. That was taken away. But the National Assembly members still put in something there. Apart from direct primaries, now you have direct primaries, indirect primaries.
Consensus.
Yes, they put in, the consensus was not there initially from the Senate. Yes, but the president was the one who mentioned consensus in an interview he had, I think was one of the television. The Senate adopted that. Still angry or
my concern in all of this is the fact that, the president had actually promised a reform. Talking about bringing reforms that will actually strengthen our democracy and, give Nigerians hope to trust the electoral process and the system. Let's not also forget the fact that over time you have trust deficiency or trust deficit, however you want to put it, because the people over time have lost trust in the entire process. And that's also a major reason why you have political apathy when you have the elections. People don't show up during elections. The question now would be how many persons have their PVC? Do you have your PVC? And why don't you have your PVC? Because people just feel that, it's the same story. We're just going to go in circles, same old, nothing is going to change. These persons are going to definitely bring who's going to be on board. So I think that the president should, beyond party lines, because I also remember that there's a statement that's been accredited to the president that says, I belong to nobody, I belong to everybody. And so national interest should be number one. And if we're looking at electoral reforms, because the president should be remembered for this, although you will begin to ask yourself, with all of our laws and what have you, the implementation level would also be a major issue. INEC on its own has a lot of roles to play. We've seen several elections that has happened in 2022, a few of them, and prior to 2022. Issue of logistics seemed to be a great one. But there's a lot. And if President Muhammadu Buhari had promised Nigerians that there would be electoral reforms that would strengthen the entire process of election and ensure that the people trust the system, And what stops him? Whatever it is, he's the president. Whatever clause, whatever thing that it is, the president should ask. I don't know how effective the protest. It's okay that we have civil society organizations and we have all of these pressure groups that are out there mounting pressure, but to what extent, to what difference would he make? It probably would just be another show-off on the streets. Would he force the president's hand to assent to it? And how much more time do we still have until we have that bill become a reality? And not necessarily, that bill is very important because of the critical element.
Yes.
Necessarily, there are some things that would actually help the entire process, but mostly everyone is looking at the issue of transmitting, results electronically, and that's the key thing. So the president should I don't know what's stopping the president from signing this. I really don't know what's going on. But let's see how this actually pans out for Nigerians. I mean, with the fact that the pressure group, the civil society, like you and I, are on top of the game and saying, hey, Mr. President, you need to do this now. We're reminding you of your promises.
I just want to quickly add, because we're almost out of time, that we're used to in this part of the world, in this country, spending government money to commission reports, and then when we commission those reports, we don't implement those reports. When Yar'Adua was elected as president in 2017, the late Umar Musa Yar'Adua, he did admit that the election that brought him to power was flawed, and he was committed to reforming the electoral process in Nigeria. And he enlisted former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Mohammed Uwais, and a committee under Mohammed Uwais called the Uwais Committee to look into and make recommendations regarding reforms in the Nigerian electoral process and system. And that committee came out with a report called the Uwais Report. All right, the Uwais Report. And that report has been sitting in Nassau Rock Villa gathering dust. Some of the recommendations of the Uwais Report include constitutional amendments that will insulate INEC from the political influences of the executive arm of government in terms of its composition and funding. And this is a major problem. The part and point, for instance, an INEC board was to be transferred from the executive, that's the president, to the National Judicial Council. Several recommendations contained in the Uwais Report that was groundbreaking, and it's not been implemented. The functions of the police on election duty, a lot of things there, election petitions and all that. What is happening, Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, what is happening to the Uwais Report? And the civil society organization as well, we've all been taken away by this electoral act amendment. That's good, but what about the Uwais Report? That's the big question that should be asked. Government's taxpayers' money was spent to put that up. We have to go. Mercy. Following, we can't get open up back, I'm told, so we have to move on.
Definitely, and that's the size of the press review. We'll definitely return with Off the Press tomorrow, and the time for the entire show would be 7 o'clock up until 9. We'll stop on the breaks right now and tell you what happened today in history, and after then, it will be time for our first major conversation, all things being equal. Please stay tuned.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. From the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
What's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely, by no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild.
This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event
on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, you know, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, you know, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Nigeria, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
Welcome back. It's still The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa, and I'm glad to say we're joined by the man who is of Plus TV Sports, Wale Scott. As we look at the shocking news coming on account regarding Nigerian track star and record holder Blessing Ohabare, who received a 10-year doping ban from the athletics authorities. And of course, the latest is that she has said she'll be reverting to her lawyer and approaching the Court of Arbitration for Sports to challenge the 10-year ban slammed on her by the Athletics Integrity Unit for out-of-competition doping violations. The Sprinters Council, Chinedu Udora, disclosed this while speaking with newsmen in an interview, saying that Ohabare's team will appeal the decision of the tribunal and is considering several options in addition to looking at things they believed were not right. Let's welcome Wale Scott at this time. Well, is it Okagbare or Ohabare?
Okagbare.
Okagbare.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Interesting. You're welcome. Well, this came as a shock, I believe, to some, to a lot of Nigerians. If you look at what's going on social media, were you shocked as somebody who is a sports expert and knows about these things, but most of us do? Were you surprised?
Nigerian sports fans, yes. Surprised, yes. I try to look at the humor in every situation. I don't try to see the seriousness in it. Nigerian fans, yes, shocked. Sports journalists, no. Yeah. Because I'll explain to you. As a COP journalist, at a point in while I was still a COP reporter, I interviewed an athlete. I'll leave a name out of it this morning.
Okay.
You know, and
popular. No?
Yeah, quite popular.
Was it a medal winner?
I don't know.
I think
yes, he's looking for trouble. You know, but you know, we spoke about it, and she was actually caught for doping at that point in time, and she explained to me on my show then and said, "Well, really, I had a cough, so I got a cough mixture, and I didn't know codeine was a banned substance." But you know, I'm just a sports journalist. I'm not a medical practitioner, but I know codeine is a banned substance. You know, so you ask yourself, where are their media team and their medical teams? They should know codeine is a banned substance. But she claims she had a cough. Of course, as an athlete or as a human being, you can have a cough. But to use a cough mixture that has codeine in it, knowing that codeine is a banned substance, is wrong. The only reason why I can overlook her case medically is that codeine doesn't make you any faster. It actually makes you slower. So that won't help her race or anything, you know. In Okagbare's case, they've consistently said, listen, we're not particularly angry at you because you doped. No. We're angry at you because we have invited you numerous times to investigate your situation and you have refused to come. Like Messi was asking a few minutes ago, why did she refuse to go? We don't know. Now she's calling her lawyers. She wants to appeal. Appeal not going for your invitation. Which of the appeals does she want to appeal? The doping case or not going for the investigation panel? Because they're actually telling you now that, listen, we're not particularly, because let's ask ourselves a question. You use a human growth drug, okay? Does it actually warrant 10 years? No. Really?
It doesn't.
10 years is massive for any
decade.
For any event, and she's 33. So where does she start from at 43? Yeah, our career, all things being equal, is over. But they are saying that, listen, we're not particularly punishing you because you doped. You can get to
great fine. You know, the list of persons who have actually been banned and eventually returned.
Returned to banned 2 years, 3 years max.
So my question now is there a possibility that, you know, with this 10-year ban, she could go in, I mean, she could do the ban and then come back and return to the career, just like the few names I've mentioned?
My friend who works with a foreign media station, we were talking yesterday, and he said that he spoke to one of the committee members who were supposed to investigate Okagbare. And they said the only reason why she was running from the panel was because she had something to hide. That will be a case for her. A lawyer will have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. Because you have to convince that committee that she had nothing to hide. And then 3-4 times you didn't come for there's something wrong somewhere. Okagbare was obviously hiding something. And the panel will tell you that, listen, we're not saying she didn't dope. She agrees she doped, okay. 2-3 years max. But why was she running from the investigative panel?
So, but don't we
That's the problem she will have.
So don't we have a system? So now, I'm not sure you've answered. I understand the point that you've made. My concern is, do you see her doing the 10-year ban and returning back just like her counterparts, the like of Mary Onyali and Choma Juan?
Really?
Right? Do you see her go? No,
really?
I'm asking you.
You expect Okabari to come back at 43?
So there's no
and do what now?
No, I'm asking you.
Come back and do what at 43? How? Listen, this is not football where there are 11 players on the field of play, where I can pass the ball to Mercy, pass the ball to Kofi, and then we can actually rest while we pass the ball. This is solo events, sport events. It's solo.
So you're on your own.
You have to be physically, mentally strong to actually get this done. And Okagbari has been described many times in our media tabloids as the queen of tracks of Nigeria. At 33, she's already going down. There's always a decline at this point in this sports. And at 43, which come back and do what now? She has retired.
They've looked at Maria Sharapova's case.
Sharapova's case is even too much. It's too far. Just recently, I don't want to use the word racism. I want to use the word double standards. I like that. You know, this young lady was caught for marijuana, what we call Igbo.
Okay.
She's an American, a black American. She's caught for what we call Igbo.
The black American athlete.
Yes.
The one who said the THC does not.
Yes. And they banned her. They banned her, and you ask yourself a question. In the state she lives in the country she lives in, cannabis sativa is actually legal. It's not illegal, unlike in Nigeria. So she actually says, what I did and what you are testing me for and saying I did wrong is actually legal in my country. And they banned her. And then a young lady, Valieva, who used the same thing.
Black or white?
White. Who used the same thing that Okagbari used, was exempted, and she was at the Winter Olympics.
What remind us of what Okagbari said of use again?
A human used a human hormone drug that Okagbari used too, and she was exempted, and she competed and ended the Olympics with them yesterday.
All right, so I'm sure she has
a double standard thing.
What do you think about the reaction of Nigerians to Okagbari's the news of her ban? You know, a lot of news outlets carrying it, a lot of, and you get the sense that bad news flies fast because everywhere Okagbari has been banned. You know, but I mean, some people were saying, no, where is a sense of a pity, sense of sort of like consideration for her in the spread of this information, without at least adding something to make it seem a bit, fair, because she's been the one flying the flag of Nigeria over the past few years as far as getting medals are concerned.
Sure.
And sometimes to her personal cost. We don't.
Most times,
you know about that.
Most times, yeah.
To a personal cost. So I mean, do you think that the way we've talked about it, the way we've, even you said that, well, she had no excuse, blah, blah, blah. Do you think we should be more sympathetic towards her at this time in our coverage of this?
Okagbari is my person, as in person individually. And Okagbari did something for Nigerians at the Commonwealth Games in Manchester. And I was fortunate to have been there. And she actually led a protest that the relay team would not run. Why? Because they give them £100 every day. And the £100 wasn't coming. And she fought for the rest of the crew. I said, listen, we must get our money.
Who gives? Is it Nigerian athletics?
Yes, of course, the Nigerian government. And it was sad that at that point in time, this is funny. It seems funny though. At that point in time, while Okagbari was protesting, a particular Nigerian minister who wasn't supposed to be on the entourage in the first place was actually being told by the hotel to pay them the £2,800 he was owing for watching porn. And then we were not giving our athletes.
He had a porn channel on.
Of course. And he was actually owing £2,800.
That's on national money.
Exactly. And we're not paying our athletes their £100 daily. And Okagbari stood up. Everybody was like, I don't want Walao. Okagbari was the only one who actually said, we're not going to run. We will stay. And that singular incident gave me a lot of respect for her. I actually walked to her, interviewed that day, and I said, thank you very much. I had to thank her because most Nigerians don't stand up for their rights. She did that day.
For the other people as well. For the other
it wasn't for her. She was cool.
Yeah.
She had enough funds to actually take care of herself. Okay. But some Nigerian athletes who actually work in Nigeria, ply their trades here, didn't have. And she was fighting for them.
If you come back home, that money don't enter.
It don't finish.
It don't finish.
So let's talk about the issue of control now with the doping issue. I remember this report that was put out in 2018 where you have the system and the structure saying the government, of course, at the time, not the government in charge of the system. So, for instance, the Nigerian Olympic Committee saying we have been doing a lot to control doping issues among athletes with collaboration, international collaboration, one of that. Because you also have mentioned on the other hand that sometimes someone could have a cough and then decide to treat it, not knowing what not to take. And so the approach, it feels like the approach over time that the Nigerian structure, the Olympic Committee has taken is that of awareness, creating awareness and enlightenment.
The World Anti-Doping Agency are the ones who are in charge of that. And they do their regular out-of-competition checks 3 times a year and all that. And
No, I'm talking about. I'm talking about now. When we come to the Nigerian, the country itself.
There's a little we can do about it. Look at Nigeria, for example. We went for the Olympics recently, and over 16 or 17 athletes were sent back home because they failed their dope test. And then Nigeria government will look at you and tell you, "But we sent for you now. We sent you an email now. You didn't come." And I'm asking myself, which kind of talk be that? Really? You say we sent for you didn't come for the test. And how can you say you sent for your athlete?
And that was a failure to do some certain routine tests.
Exactly. Because Russia, for example, Russia has been banned. They actually go for competitions now as ROC.
Without a flag.
Without a flag.
So that's a Russia
yes, because they say it was state-sponsored doping, which means the government knew they were doping and looked away.
But in Nigeria's case, it's negligence.
Nigeria's case, we don't send for them at all.
We
say we send for them.
But you have the Nigerian Olympic.
Exactly. That's the point.
Is that what happens when you have, people who are not professionals in this sport of track?
Yes, sports generally. Not even sports generally. In Nigeria generally, politics, sports, whatever. We need to put round pegs in round holes. As long as we have, for example, Kofi campaigned very well for this man. So when the man gets there and becomes somebody, Kofi becomes commissioner for something.
I hope
it's more stuff like that.
That's not going to stop anyone from giving.
No, but this is the premise I'm coming from. The fact that you have because one would like to know the Nigerian Olympic Committee has been saying that they've been doing a lot in terms of ensuring that there's control with doping amongst athletes.
The media person for the NOC, Femi Adetula. We still spoke yesterday. She sent me a message yesterday about a badminton person. But the issue is that case of those people that were sent back home for failing their dope test has already put a smear on the NOC. Love it or leave it. These athletes has consistently said, listen, some even said they even called and said, when are we going to have our tests?
Oh, some athletes.
Some of them actually said, we actually called and said, our test, I haven't done any tests this year yet. And they didn't.
So what was the aftermath of that scandal?
They've all come back home. Yes. They have gone for their other businesses and all that.
No, I'm talking about in terms of the National Olympic Committee or even the Ministry of Sports or whatever. What was the aftermath of that scandal? Was there any inquiry?
As long as politics stays in sports in Nigeria, and politics doesn't leave sports in Nigeria, nobody is going to be queried.
So nothing is
going to happen now.
But has anything happened since then? Has maybe National Assembly called anyone to come in? Even if it's just for the cameras, answer any questions?
Well, I guess they were invited. Okay. I can't remember what actually, but they explained themselves. They said the athletes did not come and all that. But all things being equal, it's all negligence. Because the truth to be said, if the athlete, I blame the athletes too, don't get me wrong. Because I always tell people, or I tell our coaches in Nigeria, they don't like me very much. The Stephen Keshi doesn't like me very much. Egwavon doesn't like me very much. But I tell them, I say, listen, you guys want to be at par with foreign coaches. If the government, don't blame the government for every time rain falls too much or sun shines too much. If the government doesn't bring money to take you for courses, go on the internet. Check for private courses for coaches. Raise the money and go on. It's for your betterment. Better yourself. So I'm saying that if the government are negligent, they don't call you to come and get your tests. Come for your test by yourself and tell them, I'm here now. I want my test done now. Then the government say no. So the athletes, some of them actually said we called. But how many of them called? If the government doesn't call you, you are an athlete. You should know better.
So for me, in all of this is, they have also cited the issue of ignorance amongst, these athletes and what have you, not knowing what to take and to take. And the approach that they have over time said to control the issue of doping in the system, because we need to understand what they are doing to help us, reduce the level of all of this kind of experiences. I mean, so they have said the strategy we have employed is to create awareness, education, because some of these athletes don't know what to take. Like you rightly mentioned that.
I think it's a lie. Most of our athletes in Africa, not in Nigeria alone now.
Okay.
I hate to say the Nigerian thing.
Okay.
In Africa, most of them are greedy.
Okay.
It's not like they're that poor. They're all right financially.
Okay.
They can actually afford, even if it's one man in your medical team who is a doctor, a sports doctor who can take care of you. Ignorance is not an excuse in law.
So we're doing enough to educate this athlete in Nigeria?
Educate who now? You are an athlete. You should have a medical team. I don't expect any athlete to know what drug to take and what drug. I can't expect that. For example, there's a long list of what to take and what not to take. And there are some funny names there. Trasbo Kinikon, Kolo Kinikon. You can't know what it is. Only medical people will know.
You're being hard on these athletes.
I'm not. It's not an excuse to say that I don't know what to take.
How many people who are ill in this country look at the fine print of the drugs they buy each time they buy drugs to read everything?
How many of them are athletes?
Yeah, no,
or footballers or something?
I do agree that you should have your own personal interest at heart to say my development and my advancement, my success is dependent on what I can do for myself.
True.
But ultimately, there are sort of people who have been tasked with the responsibility of administering the sport. Let's look at track and field, for instance, in Nigeria. And you have to have a program, because sometimes illiteracy can come into play.
True.
I mean, this guy who is I don't know which European country he's in. Is it America now? The one said I never experienced it. Was a young man speaking from Delta State. Even when he said I never experienced it, with that level of education he had at the time and exposure, would he know everything? In
Nigeria,
if the guys who are meant to administer and have a program to make sure they educate these people and guide them,
because you can't take that away.
19 athletes going to an international tournament and failing, you have to blame that specifically
no doubt
on the administrators.
See, we already know our administrators are negligent. We know that they are irresponsible. We know that already. That's where I'm going to and saying that, listen, it's your career. Blessing or Kagbari.
What if you call the government like you said, some athletes said we want to have tests, and those tests are not conducted?
Because the government is negligent. It's
what do you do?
Bottleneck. Nothing now. You see, the truth to be said, if the government won't take care of you, take care of yourself.
No, but can you go do your own test somewhere?
Yes.
Don't we have the standard?
I have a friend.
The standard original, because each country should have its own procedures. Must it not be certified by the authorities? And all that.
No, you don't. It doesn't have to.
Just go anywhere.
If the government doesn't send your tests to what?
I mean, this is on a lighter note because this conversation is getting very intense.
Really?
Serious. Maybe they just need to just drink water and that's the end, and just say
they can't do that. States do. There's talk on that day. We all know what other states. This is what I'm talking about. As in, okay, if an athlete can actually say, okay, good, I'm in Lagos or I'm in Abuja or wherever, and I can raise, most of them have sponsors, I can raise a little money. Doctor, okay, please, once in a while, just come check me. Tell me what to do. Or even if it's WhatsApp, tell me what to eat, tell me what to drink, tell me what to do, how should I work it out? He can tell you. Where I'm going to is that the government have failed us, no doubt. Should we fail ourselves? Should I wait for the government to always tell me how to do? It's your career.
So moving forward.
Love it or leave it. Most of us who are sports presenters are actually disappointed with Okagbari. Very, very. Okay. Because she's someone who goes for regular international meets. It's like
she should know.
It's like saying table tennis, Haruna Kadri is banned for doping. And you're like, this guy goes for international, like, is going to Oyinbo. So they should know better.
System, yeah.
She might not be literate, like whatever. She might not be as knowledgeable as we know. But this is someone who is practically always abroad. Much more than she's in Nigeria. ignorance in that this on Okagbari's level. Yes, the athletes who were sent home, most of them in Nigeria. I can understand that. I can take that. But not an athlete like Okagbari at that level. Okagbari has run with everybody who matters in the female sprint world. Across every meet in the world. From Paris to Scotland to London, everywhere. So for an Okagbari to tell you she doped, and the people are even saying it's not the doping that is doing us. And then they tell you to come for, and they invite you for investigation once, twice, thrice, 4 times, and you don't go.
That means that's serious consequence.
That means they are saying she had something to hide.
So moving forward, how do we prevent all of this? I mean, we know that you have young people who are aspiring and who are getting into the scene of this, becoming an athlete and getting into the sporting world. What can the government?
The government they don't live with you.
Okay.
They don't know what you do.
So, but I'm saying that I'm saying that there's a federation that controls everything.
Yeah, even the federation too don't live with you. So the what you're talking about starts from discipline from the athlete themselves.
Okay.
I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't smoke marijuana. I shouldn't drink alcohol. They should know that first off. And then what the federation can do is once in a while call you guys to a big hall and talk to you guys, and the doctors check you guys and all that. That's the best they can do. But the bulk still falls on the table of the athletes. They must be disciplined. They must understand. Cristiano Ronaldo went to Manchester United, and the first thing he did was try to talk the players into changing their diets.
I think they saw him eating, very strictly in the
yeah.
So you
guys change your diet.
Where has it gotten them? I think the first time I heard about this doping was Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, yeah.
And then we had it drugs. The word doping was...
drugs was a big thing for us.
So it was, Ben Johnson, don't go take cocaine. Having watched Scarface and all those movies and all that and seen that, and then, but well, here we are. We hope for the best for Nigerian athlete. She's a national treasure, and we wish her all the best. Let's hope that she gets a reduced sentence. And gets off the hook. Well, that's so much good take. Wallace Scott, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And for expert analysis on this particular issue. It was a pleasure having you on The Breakfast. Merci.
Well, if you missed out any part of the conversation, it's alright to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. We will return tomorrow. It promises to be an amazing conversation. The time again is 7 o'clock. I am Messi Bokwo. Have a fantastic Monday.
And I'm Kofi Bartels. Thanks very much for your time. See you tomorrow.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you're looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on PlusTvAfrica, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 I dey pay.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
ready to party right from the comfort of your TV screen. The Rundown's here to save the day. From freshly baked videos to the classics to the youngins and dope conversations, all in one chart. We got you covered. Just tune in to The Rundown every Friday, 10:30 p.m. West African time. The Rundown. Let's turn it up.
Good morning. I am Messi Boko with the news brief. President Muhammadu Buhari has been advised to keep to his husband.
Mr. Muhammadu Buhari and him again. And much more, his tenure is about to finish. So I'm pleading to him to fulfill his promise before the end of his tenure. And I'm calling for the Nigerians and the members of the press to please put pressure on the federal government concerning the release of my daughter.
We are counting few months for him to step down or to end his tenure. So the legacy we are pleading with President Buhari that will help the family of Leah Sharibu and the entire Nigerian people to remember him is that he has fulfilled that promises that he has made 4 years down the lane and set Leah free. A lot of girls are still in captivity.
It's no longer a story that Leah is still alive and has 2 children, as we've been hearing the news. So Leah is very much alive, and the likes of her, so many other young girls who are out there living helpless lives, living in fears, living in hopelessness are still there, hoping that a day will come that the government would remember them.
The Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timipura Silva, has begged Nigerians to exercise patience over the torturous challenges of petrol scarcity, assuring efforts were on to end the problem and to avoid a repeat of it. Silva's apology was contained in a statement signed by Horatius Egwar, his senior advisor, media and communications. The minister reckoned that Nigerians in recent weeks have grappled with fuel scarcity, not because of the absence of supply products, but due to inspection failure and regulatory negligence, which allowed adulterated products into the country. He added that while the development was regrettable, it is time that calls for collective action to save the situation that was not foreseen. Meanwhile, fuel queues have substantially thinned out in various parts of the Federal Capital Territory, that's the FCT, on Sunday. The development seems to be a confirmation of government's assurance that fuel queues would gradually disappear from its weekend when 3.2 billion litres of safe petrol imported is injected into the domestic market. A lot of fueling stations were hit or out of stock for weeks when seen selling petrol to motorists. However, it was observed that consumers preferred patronizing outlets of major oil marketers for fear of not buying remnants of contaminated petrol. APC governors are expected to meet President Muhammadu Buhari this week. The meeting is with a view to picking a new date for the National Convention, which is slated for the 26th of February 2022. The APC, which had invited INEC to monitor its convention at the Eagle Square in Abuja, has failed to sell forms to any aspirant with less than 6 days to go. This came to the fore on Sunday as the party was battling to resolve crisis caused by its move to choose its next National Working Committee member through consensus. Also on Sunday, a top source in the presidency said the president will on Tuesday meet the APC governors. The party, which has been shifting its convention since December 2020, is set to postpone it for the 4th time. This is following the inability of the 22 APC governors to agree on issues involving zoning and the mode of elections. The House of Representatives has urged INEC to conduct a physical registration across the country. It also asked INEC to increase the time frame of its new voters registration across the country. We have this report.
Honorable Abu others are also a drawback for successful conduct of elections. Honorable Yaliman said if the voter registration exercise is concluded without addressing these
and officials inadequate power supply, we should adopt this motion as our own motion because, like I said, it has spoken directly to the concerns.
Tell enumerators like it is done in the past. INEC are advised or compelled, in other words, to ensure that they employ ad hoc staff to go the 4 angles of Nigeria and ensure that they have captured citizens of this country who are eligible, who is not a privilege for them to participate in the forthcoming election.
We look at the centers and make sure that there's time enough.
The motion was passed when put to vote by the Speaker. He mandated the House Committee on Electoral Matters to ensure compliance and report for further legislative action.
Governor of Ogun State, Boyega Oyetola, has been declared winner of the All Progressive Congress APC primary elections. Returning officer for the 30 local government and the area council announced the result. The chairman of the primary election committee and governor of Kwara State at conduct of the exercise.
I, Abdurrahman Abdrazak, chairman primary election committee, hereby certify that Adeboyega Isiaka Adetola having secured the highest number of votes cast in the Osun governorship primary elections held on the 19th of February 2022 and met all
the cabinet, the structures of the party from the ward to the state.
Mr. Rauf Aregbesola. The protest was over his reported face-off with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The protest took place of their personal interests. He spoke at the weekend during